Oh, okay. Hopefully everybody can hear me now. Some slight technical hitches, but hopefully we can go now. Sorry about like the delay, massive delay, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes is an eternity on the web. Hopefully I haven't lost everybody because that would be sad. So shout if you're there, and we'll get going. There's a bit of a latency, so if you're typing in the chat window, I won't hear you for about a minute, which is a little disconcerting, but I haven't sorted out that yet, which is a bit sad. Hello, Alan. Right, I'll just start and we'll see how we get on. Hey. So yeah, if you know people who wanted to watch and they got put off by the massively slow start, I'm really sorry. Then ping them online or something and just say I've got going now. So let's bring up an image then, and I'll try and remember to switch screens because I've been bad at doing that. Right. So this is the guy I want to have a look at. And you can see I've been doing a load of tiny thumbnails trying to generate ideas. So I've kind of done some more development on that idea. So I've gone back to pure ref. And I've got this mute board with a bunch of references. So I'm imagining that we've got some sort of like spacesuit for like adverse environments. So it's like a combination of like deep sea diving bell, these things which are currently called gym suits, and like SpaceX stuff and Soyuz stuff. Like, so we've got circles, cylinders, big glass balls, and the idea is to try and block it out as quickly as possible and try and solve some design problems. Just switch back. So what I've found is that once you've mastered the 3D tools, the main blockage, the thing that trips me up and slows me down, is making decisions. So what I mean by that is like, what does the thing actually look like? How am I imagining it? And how can I quickly make a decision about what I want to do, and then go to the modelling. So I don't want to go to the modelling first too soon, but I need to generate ideas. I'm trying to find a good slide which I have on this. Where is it? Alright, I've lost it. Doesn't matter. Wow, doing stuff live is stressful. One last try to find those good slides. I'm gonna give up. So I guess the thing is, what happens to me is, I'll try and describe what I mean. Alt tab. Is that we have a process where we start with an idea at the top, we do some research, and then we go down to doing some actual kind of creation, and then we have a review process, and we kind of go around this cycle, like idea, research, creation, review, idea, research, creation, review. We just keep going around that cycle as much as you can. And to some extent, the quality of your final output, the thing you make, weird zoom camera, the quality of the thing you make is based on how many times around that cycle you can get. And the mistake that people make is to try and skip elements of the cycle. So they'll go straight from idea to modeling, and they'll skip the research, and they'll try and stay in the modeling for as long as possible, and you just kind of go and grind to a halt. So it's always good if you're slowing down, you want to get back into this kind of review, and then back into your kind of, what new ideas does that review generate, and what research can I do. I'm not going to do too much of that right now. Let's get back to my... So this is my research stage. I won't have time to do much more on this subject, especially as I can't find my slides, which is really annoying. Just one last try. Oh, here it is. Sweet. So this is the summary. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our selection of complex shapes. Like, complex shapes are made from simple shapes. So what are the simple shapes that we want to make? And then we want to go from the big shapes first down to the small shapes by like going around this cycle as quickly as possible. So like developing our ideas for a combination of references, mood boards, blocking out, and then joining things together, and then going deeper and deeper into the model. If we go too deep too soon, the whole process will slow down and grind to a halt. So let's have a go then. Let's start that. Now I've done my very long preamble. Let's get going. So this is my thumbnail, and I want to base it on some sort of real-world scale. So the first thing I want to do is get a character in my scene. There you go. And I don't have a posed character to hand, so I'm just going to use biped as a reference. And just to give it a bit of volume, let's go and change the biped to a male. Yeah, he'll do. And then I'm going to pose him. Stick his pelvis in the center of the screen. So, though my object is drawn at an angle, like this is the way it flies kind of that way. The main, I think I'm going to start modeling it by rotating the whole thing like upwards somehow. Boop, boop, boop. I could get this I'll stop doing that, silly. I could get this into max somehow, but I think I'm going to eyeball it. So, and what I've noticed is that as I've been drawing this, I've been getting the shoulder placement wrong. So that's the first thing I'm going to try and address, is make sure that I understand where the arms are in this character. So let's just go out of figure mode, press N for animation. I'm just going to pose this figure like that. As though he's kind of in some sort of suit. Not too worried about the feet. I am worried about the arm position, so let's... Oops. I can double click on that. Selects the whole arm, and then I'm going to copy and paste. So let's make a new collection. Copy that posture. That's it. We shall copy the arm, and then I can paste the posture onto the opposite arm over there. While I'm doing this, let's get my zoom up and working. Zoom it. Cool, let's just try that. Eee. Zoom. Right, so let's start off with a really basic shape, and I'm going to use a extended primitive, which is this oil tank, I think. Something like that. And then I'm going to place it in the center of my screen, because I always want to be building in them on the axis. I'll try and scale it down. So I've got an idea of scale. I need to make sure that my character's in scale, which I forgot to do, so let's do that. Go back to figure pose, structure, and this height I'm going to put in at a real height of 1.8 meters. That makes that a lot bigger. Then let's drop out figure mode, the hill pose back again, and I'll get this cylinder now the right height. Something like that. Maybe move it back a bit. I want to make sure that my shoulder, there's some part of the shoulder being poking out, but if it goes too far, it may not work. Let's try that. So these pressure suits have these big spheres at the elbow joints, sorry, the shoulder joints, which I quite like this kind of stuff. So the arm comes out the front of the object somewhat, like that. Right, and I'm also going to drop in some sort of sphere like that. I'm still kind of experimenting with ideas, so even though my thumbnail is not quite like that, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So it occupies the whole size of the cylinder in my thumbnail. Do I want to obey that rule? Yeah, maybe I do. So I've got my snap tool. To snap to a vertex in this axis, so I can place it around this cylinder. And I'm going to choose where are my axis constraints? There they are. Let's just drag this on the screen because I use this a lot and it vanishes when I shrink to this small screen. So this button is good. So this means that if I drag it along this axis, it's more clear if I do it like this way. I can snap the center by clicking on dragging over one of these vertices over here. So that centers it there. Not enough snaps, I'll just drag that down. Something like that. So my model has this nice curve here, so I'll build that in later, and I've got some extra bits to kind of give it a bit more shape where the shoulder joint is. So let's have a think about this then. Alt X to make that see-through so I can just see the character beneath it. Yeah. Yeah, so biped comes with Max. It's actually been with Max since like the very early days of 3D Studio. It's a kind of underrated tool. I did like games animation with this thing for like 10 years or something. Very long time. So let's get some shape over here. So I'm still mapping out forms and I want to do it as quickly as possible, and I'm mainly working from one point of view. So let's just get a plane in there and I'm going to whack out those. Something like that. What would be nice is if I could just turn that biped into a mesh straight away, but I think I'll leave it like that, because I think, yeah, so what I can do is, alright, that'll do. View. See that? That's a bit annoying. So I have to grab let's just rotate that 45 degrees. Yeah, it's much easier working like that. Right, let's do this. So his hips about here. So let's get another box. .45 degrees. Just turn on symmetry. kind of works. I'm trying to sort of hint at the shape of a shoulder in this space, really. That so you can see like there's a shoulder joint created by this curve, and I think so. This is like his elbow, so we're kind of hinting that there's a shoulder in here somehow. But it's not very successful when I've been going in 3D here. And you can see that his elbows are too short. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of messing around just to try and sit everything in the right place. Yeah, possibly a bit more like that. I'm being pretty brutal about meshwork here. I'm trying to be quick rather than good. Last check. So I'm just, I do have a bit of a bump at the top there. I think that's sort of in the right ballpark now of what I want to do. So and then the next question is to try and build some 3D-ness. I'm not really worrying about these secondary forms right now. So I think this is like some sort of aero spike. I've got this idea that it's let's bring it over here, like this kind of feature on the side of the SpaceX. I think it's a massive thruster. It's pretty cool. I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there, and I like these. So these are just attitude adjustment thrusters or something, and then this is our actual landing thruster to stop it smashing into the ground. It's a bit easier to see here. So let's add a shell modifier to bring this out. And I think pretty quickly I want to symmetry. No, it's been that. Right, let's do reset X form first, otherwise that axis is going to mess with my head. Tools, reset selected. Collapse all. And turn it into an editable poly and add a symmetry mod. You can see there's this kind of curve to the shape. It kind of curves around. There's this big model thing called Machine Krieger, which I really like, and has all these blended forms. That's cool stuff. So let's just simplify that blend for a moment. Drop that down. It'll work. Edit poly. So I'm bouncing between working on one side and working on both sides. So when I do this bevel here, if I go up, it goes in like that. But if I did the same operation down here, bevel, it will pull that into the center there. So when I add my symmetry modifier, I shouldn't get the same result. Theoretically, although it is actually split down there. Doesn't matter. Okay. Let's look at that. I wish there was like a ping or something generated by YouTube when people comment. It'd be really helpful. So keep glancing over. Let's copy that again. Paste it. Collapse 2 so I don't get too distracted by it bouncing around. Turn end results on. Yeah, something like that. So I'm still going for my major forms. I may go and adjust things later. That might be a bit wide, maybe. I think that's probably better. How's everybody doing? Are they nobody's got ill yet, I hope. No family members. It's going to get quite crazy in England, I suspect, the next couple of weeks. Like Italy kind of crazy. So I'm not quite sure about that interface. I think maybe I need to move something around. Right. I think at some point you just have to go for it. So I think those are the major forms. I think that this probably needs a little bit more love. Edit poly. There is some, it is not completely fat tone. I want it wrapped around the surface, otherwise I think this arm joint vanishes. Yeah. I am also going insane. No, actually, yeah, no, I've already think I'm insane. I think, relatively speaking, like, I've got it quite cushy here. Like, work in England has completely dried up for, like, nobody's shooting anything at all. No TV productions are getting made, which is a bit crap if you work for television. Oops. Something more like that, perhaps. Yeah, let's just pull that out a bit more. So let's mess with this a bit more. So I think I'm going to obviously have to lose that bit, so let's just do that now. Just going to collapse it. It's shift to select a loop like that. So if I click on one face and then hold down shift, I'll get the other face as well and the whole loop. let's just scale that in the parent axis. I have to be careful about my axes, otherwise I'm going to lose this cylinder shape. So let's just drag that up. Eventually I might have to cut. Let's just turn this X-ray off. Ooh, that bumped. There's a line which is kind of going down. Ooh, that wasn't right. Not that one, this one. Yeah. There's a line which is going slightly off axis around there, which is nice. Bring this line over and chamfer, do some sort of chamfer in here, and then try and bring this round into that kind of shape. Round it off, I think, and then I still haven't really dealt with the arms. I probably should do that now before I start welding things together. Okay. Every time, select background, green colour, right. So let's just make a sphere and drop it in, and I'll align it to somewhere in there. Something like that. I guess I'll cheat the actual arm placement in the end. Yeah, I think I've lost some people because I started too late, which is a bit sad. Oh well. Should we get another one of these tubes? Yes. Ah, missed. Let's align that to that arm, and I'm going to choose... rotate in the local axis this time, 90 degrees, because it's 90 degrees out. Yeah, that's more like it. Just try tapering it, see if that helps. It's become quite absorbing actually. I thought this was going to be quick and simple, but I'm going quiet because my brain's in overdrive, like trying to work out all these shapes. So that is pretty good blockout. I think it's a bit I think I got the scale of my drawing maybe wrong. This character, it feels right. This is a bit more slender than my original drawing. Let's just tweak it a bit. Yeah, these, I mean, I can fuss over like the starting proportions of something for way too long, and I'm going to try not to do it in a live stream because it's going to be quite dull. So let's just settle on that as a decision, Ken, and get on with it. I'm sort of serious about like the initial decision making, like for these proportions, is like what really decides whether something's going to be good or bad. But just in terms of the live stream, I think I will just press on and not worry about it too much. But I think at this point, normally what I'd do is probably stop and go and work on something else, because I need to let my subconscious kind of digest all the decisions that have been made. So unless I'm really super confident about form, this would be the point where I'd normally stop. But I think what I want to do is kind of go on to the next step. So if I just go back to my slides, assuming I haven't lost them. There we go. So we've kind of made some decisions about large slabs. We've started to block out forms, and then the next step is to kind of join and weld. So we're going to join up all these forms as quickly as possible so we can start to blend some of these shapes together. So let's just look at this overall kind of capsule form. So we've got a blended shape like here around this line, and then a blended shape here. I'm not going to worry about the arm too much, and I'm not going to worry too much about this interface between the capsule and the cylinder, but I do want to place it, I do want to change the line. So at the moment we've got this kind of straight line, and I want to just emphasize the direction a bit by kind of getting more of this kind of line. So I want to adjust this whole, so at the moment that line, I want it to kind of skew it so it's kind of more in that direction a bit, and then I'll start sculpting it. So there are multiple ways of doing it. I could just skew this with a skew tool, like, let's just select it. Should be like this, edit poly. And the reason I quite like doing things like this procedurally when I'm working shit out is because I have no clue where I really want that line to sit. So 90 degrees. Yeah, I really like being able to do this. Yeah, is that right? Is that right? Is that right? Something like that. I think like that is good. and then I'll pull these little vertices up by hand with another edit poly on top. It's getting a little bit cluttered in here. In fact, no, I've got a better idea than that. Let's bin that. I just want to skew that part. So let's go back into my edit polymorpher, we'll deselect those vertices and pop. That pops into place. Yeah, like that. That's better. Okay, and then we'll just collapse all of that. Collapse to. Yeah, that's a better starting point. So now I want to blend this shape in. And again, there are kind of multiple ways of approaching that. I think we'll try and do both routes in this little tutorial. So let's go back to here. I'm going to hide everything else. Start to organize things a little bit. So let's just select everything named BIP. Let's do right. We can do all of that lot. Create new layer. Oh, how did they get unnest it? Right, there we go. So now that reference biped is not going to get in the way and confuse me when I'm working on this. Toggle the layer explorer, off we go, come back again. So let's have a go at this. So I tend to do, I'm pretty paranoid about screwing things up, so let's just take all of that. I'm going to do Control V to copy it. We create a new layer with just that copy in and then hide everything else. And now I'll start work. Right, so that's okay. Let's just Boolean these guys together. So I want to carry on working in this axis. Like so, I want this to be the axis of the object, not that way. And so I can preserve some of the spherical nature, sorry, the cylindrical nature of this if I need to get back to that axis. I do know it was 45 degrees originally, but I've rotated a bit north, so I have no idea what angle that is. So because of that, I'm gonna take this as the base of my Boolean and add this object to it. So let's add another object like that. So you can see it's triangulated everything here. It's added these triangles in here. So I want to make sure that I retain non-planar faces, and I'll get rid of all of those. Coolio. And then I can start going to edit poly. Delete all that stuff. It's not. Ooh. That's naughty. That shouldn't be in there at all. Let's just have a look at why that is. Let's bin it. I don't know where that is. That's annoying. I'll just carry on anyway and think delete it. The middle bit should have disappeared. It's a bit crap that it didn't. Let's just get rid of it by hand, right? So Boolean's really quick. It's normally pretty robust, so I'm sort of surprised that I've ended up with this mess. Really annoying. Huh. Where did the inspiration for the character come? This is what I mean about, like, I wish there was a ping on the YouTube channel. The inspiration is from a lot of drawing. I've been doing a truckload of drawing recently. See if you can quickly, like, really crappy, really fast thumbnails, a lot. Let's open. So where's it gone? Like, so we've got this kind of evolution from, like, spacesuit guy, bigger, fatter spacesuit guy, and then at some point you go, well, do we need the legs? And I think I actually got the actual final idea, I think, from, like, a novel. I think that there was a novel which is making the same sort of argument, which is like, do we actually need the legs when we're making spacesuits? What I should do, really, is go and work out why that Boolean failed. And that is worrying, that it's selecting that whole face. Oh, I don't want to do it. Okay, let's go and do some fault diagnosis. So I'm back in what I think is this object. It might be in here. Let's go and have a look at this oil tank. No. Let's add another swift loot here, see if that does anything. No. I don't want this whole, like, live stream to be about diagnosing broken meshes in Max. Right, let's try it again. Copy that, make a new layer. I mean, this is like a real thing I have to do, but it's a bit dull, isn't it? Right, so let's do an STL check. Check everything. Check. No errors. Let's do an STL check on this. STL check. Check everything. Check. No errors. Okay, that's annoying. Right, let's use the other Boolean mod. Let's hold everything before I do it so I can go back. And then we'll do a pro Boolean. I'm going to do a union, start picking that. Right, so the other Boolean mod did the job nicely, and now I can start modelling as opposed to messing around trying to clear the other method. How do people find the pace of this? Like, I mean, because it's just me musing about things, and you know, I kind of worry that you know, it's dull. Right. So yeah, I mean, my other video I had something more of a tutorial in mind, and this one, this is kind of tutorial, but this is more literally just how I'm working and thinking. For me, like, I want to be able to kind of do stuff that is in line with what I'm working on, if that makes sense, because it's more efficient. I haven't always got time to kind of do like big ass tutorials. Yeah, so long as I can make what I say interesting, I'm hoping that like it'll be cool. So you can get an idea of what I'm thinking, and also see like me mess up, like because I mess up a lot. Right. Oops. I'll do that one. That vertex is going to be really annoying. Because, let's just turbo smooth this. Yeah, look at that, what a mess. Symmetry. So I've got to find some way to kind of integrate that corner without messing up this circle. So look, if I integrate it by... Right, so let's add another edit poly modifier on here and I'll show you what I mean. If I just add a P-connect in here, draw a line down to here, then... Oh, it still doesn't work. So that's because that's... Oh, it's because of this shape. Let's bring another loop around here. That's a bit better. Still pretty nasty. I suspect that there might be something nasty going on in here. And there is. Look at this cluster of nastiness just here. Let's collapse that. Should be one vertex there. I'm checking that. See what the count is, and there should be one vertex there. That's good. Alright, we're running out of time already. Look at that, an hour of me messing around. There we go, that's better. Okay, so we've got this kind of shark shape. That's pretty good. It's quite blended at the moment, so I think probably the next thing to do would be to try and sharpen some of the interfaces up just a little bit, so it's not quite so mushy. Really wanted to preserve that circle, but I think it's actually okay flattening off at the top. So, okay, let's just hide this, hide everything else. So there's a couple of ways I could approach this. Let's just add another edit poly modifier. Yeah, the Boolean just sort of helped me mash them together. It kind of now it should. So I could do the join by hand and work out what this line is, but by using the Boolean, I can kind of it calculates this line, the interface line, for me. This isn't a great example because I spent a lot of time faffing around, but it's quite good when you're doing, you know, kind of this explorative modelling, because you can just whack a lot of shapes in and not really worry too much about your edge topology, which is kind of what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to show a couple more tricks, and then I might have to split. So let's divide up the smoothing groups. So I'm going to smooth that. I want to smooth this line. That center thing is smooth, and that area is smooth already. So we've got now I can do chamfer. It chamfers everything like that, and then I can do all the edges and only chamfer the unsmooth boundaries like that. So we get that. And now I'm going to turbo smooth it. Symmetry, turbo smooth. And we get that, which is quite good, but I can also then go and adjust that interface. Yeah, so what I'm realizing is as I do that, I like that sharp edge. That's too hard. So, go in here, I'm going to do by weight. Hey Yankee, how you doing? Hey Murat, how you doing as well? So now I can go in here, let's select this edge. Also, I don't give a crap about triangles at the moment. I know triangles are meant to be evil, but like, once you turbo smooth it a few times, it's not going to be important. So as long as it looks okay, it is okay. Turn the end results on, and then I'm going to reduce the weight. There you go, make that softer. Yeah, that's better. Something like that. Let's do a bit of cleanup. No, I will get rid of a couple of triangles because they are annoying. At this point, I'm slightly envious of like Aramis 3D because he just blasts through this kind of stuff. Let's leave that as it is. Right, so I'm just going to do this other bit. So I've got this shape, which I want to cut in. This interface here is really bugging me. There, that bit. I really want to get on to just like kind of doing more detail, but I think I need to fix that. Right. Oops. So I'm trying to get this flow right so that we're not quite getting this dip. I think it's this dip in here that is bugging me. So, and I think it's because we've got too many triangles in here. So I think I need to reduce that somehow. And let's just try some shit. So let's just collapse that. Get rid of that. So this is going to wrap that around there. I've kind of lost the sense of this line. That's terminating there, and that's not so cool. Really, I want to wrap that in there before I get here, so that everything continues on nicely. So I probably would need to rebuild that edge a bit. I've always got this I keep constraint to edge on a lot so that I'm sliding around things. So I'm sort of preserving the form by using that slide to edge option. Right, I'm not going to fuss that too much, because to some extent I should probably type that kind of stuff in ZBrush. Right, I've got some of that sense of that line going around a bit better there, but I think I want to leave it just for the sake of demo purposes. I'm going to turn that off now because I feel good. So I'm going to go back to that option, get a nicer curve there. Okay, so that's kind of done. I think what I'd quite like to do is just, rather than this being, so this is a straight shape here, I think I want it to do more that, like, this is really subtle, like that shape. So I can do that by moving this whole loop that like this way. So let's just slide that down. And then I'm going to move that out. And slide that vertex down the edge. definitely an argument now, like some of this stuff is better done in ZBrush, but we're kind of in Max now, so I'm going to stay there. I want to tighten up that edge as well, because it's just a little bit too soft. So let's just drag all of that up. That's better. So again, like, I don't really want to get too into edge flow at this point, but you can see that kind of works. There's a triangle there. That's okay. Right, because you can get, I'm getting too sucked into this, and I still haven't dealt with this area. How are we doing? Right, so I want to build this shape in here. I want to preserve that circle, and it just so happens that I already have most of an edge loop in roughly the right place down here. So I think what I'm going to try and do is build, rather than try this Boolean technique, I think I'm going to just try and edit and extrude everything into the right shape. So I'm sort of settled with all that, so let's collapse that. Edit poly. Symmetrical, it's going to be easier if I edit it up here, so just have a quick look at my reference. So it does start, that's the center line, so it does start in the center of the cylinder. Just sort of debating how much of this I want to pull down. Oops. I'm just going to do this really brutally, quickly, just so I see like what's going on. No, not like that. Alright, let's just extrude it. So I'm going to extrude it ever so slightly. Think. Pretty much 0. And then pull it out. And then I want to flatten that shape, and since I've preserved my axis, I can use the parent axis to deal with that. Ah, accidentally, I didn't select that face, but actually that's a better way of doing it. So let's, so this side has selected more faces, but it's kind of not so good. That's fine, I've selected less faces. I think that's probably better. So a quick look at that turbo smooth. Actually, that's better. So let's add that symmetry map back on top. Copy, paste. See, I can lost the center line. That's why I'm getting that weirdness there. So that means that my center line is drifted off axis. So let's just fix that. Tiny little double faces in here. Select those guys and choose Z. No. X. There we go. So move it over to the center. Snap. Cured. That actually is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Straight off the box. Proportionally, yes. Yeah, I need to go a lot lower, don't I? So I want to be like down here, I think. So let's just drag all that lot down, and then I'll rebuild some loops just to support it. Parent space again. And I'm going to have to stop soon. In the background, my little one is getting very hungry, I think. So I might have to go and help out with dinner. View. Okay, maybe I should stop here. What are you guys feeling? Those of you who are left. Right. I think at some point I'm going to have to script some sort of button so I can get all these axes things and this stuff into one little shortcut tab, because it just takes a little bit too long to keep flicking up and down up there. I hadn't realised before how much of a shark shape this is, but it's cool. I kind of like it. So the next thing to do would be to cut in my duct in here. So it's quite a hard shape. Yeah, so again, like, it's interesting doing this as a live stream because it makes me really think about what I'm doing. These initial phases where I'm trying to sort out like edge flow and like the core form, I think really the most important to me. Here we go. I think it's also a form of procrastination, like I can't quite bring myself to get into the next step. Right, let's have that then. So I want to cut out this duck shape. It's going to sit in here somewhere. Let's try something really quickly. What am I planning to? Yeah, so this is the thing. I think I'm getting really absorbed into this form, and there's some other bits to kind of think about. Let's go back to my drawing, like kind of little detail things here. We've got these lines, other bits and bobs, and really, what I really want to do, like, is really nail this shape. But I actually think that's probably quite dull for a live stream, so I should probably think about you know, these shapes. I could think about these shapes and the other shapes, which would be easier to kind of deal with. But to me, once I've got this shape right, then everything else will kind of fall into place. It sort of creates the design language for the model, and you know, really sets the tone. So at the moment, maybe I'll just do my little summary. Like, it's a bit too sharky, and I really hadn't seen it before. And I think there's something about here. There's no sense of an angle where that line is there. Like when I was imagining it, I wasn't imagining that there would be a really hard angle in there. And I think now I've got that shape in there, it's creating a really hard angle, which I'm not liking. It's pushing it too much into like this is a shark area, and I think to some extent this is where I probably should stop and go and have a rethink about what is going on with that, and then think of a way of sort of fixing that aesthetic. But it's going to be a bit dull for a live stream, especially when I've faffed around a lot. So maybe I'll just like knock out a few small shapes, like this camera, so that you guys can see like some more elements which I've been thinking about. So this camera here, and then we can get kind of an overall silhouette all finished. So that camera there is based on. Let's see if it's in my mood board. Yeah, this stuff up here. These guys, lights and cameras, like either side of the head. Right. So a few more looks at that. So we got this kind of shape, that kind of shape. I really want to be able to see up, so won't use that. And there's like there's nice design elements in this backpack, like that shape. It's quite cool. So maybe I'll just try and build something a bit like that. Really quickly. So it's a symmetrical shape. Get the correct layer. Just model that. I'll just leave that box there while I think about what's going on and how it connects. I wasn't really thinking too clearly about where that connected when I did that drawing, and now it's coming out when I'm modelling. Because no, it's just going to float in space. Kind of needs to connect like up here or something. Like this big strut. So let's just block in my other shapes while I'm here. This is this shape I'm not sure about. I wasn't sure about it when I drew it, but I'm just going to add it in for the sake of it. Let's just do everything the same colour, so we kind of create some sort of unity of form. That's a real thing. Desperate to cut a hole in here, so I really want to cut a hole in here because I think it's going to create this shape here, and I think that's really an important part of design language. So because I might want to go back and like do stuff later, let's just move that up there and hide it. So I'm just working out what subdivision level I want to work at with this shape. The higher subdivision I work at, then the easier it is to kind of preserve this form. So I think I'm going to keep it quite high, and let's make a box. Oops. So let's, as an experiment, I'm going to just look at this form now with another Boolean. So I've saved the shape way up here, and I might go and do like a more what's the word I'm looking for? Precise bit of like subdivision modeling to deal with this, but for the moment I just really want to see how this is going to work. So let's just grab that, and I'm subtracting that hole in there. Then I can go back down to my box, click on operands, and get a feel for how that shape works. Yeah, something like that. So I can even go back down here and turn off Turbo Smooth. I have no idea if this is going to work. I think it might. Yeah, make a mess. So then I want to go and clean up that shape, because actually I think that the poly count is kind of in the same space, so maybe I'll clean up here rather than here. Possibly there would be better, that subdivision level. I'd want to make, no, so you can see that once I start working on that shape, I really need to have finalised all these curves and everything around here, which I know I haven't, so I'm just going to do that for the sort of sake of demonstration and leave it there. And I think actually now I've kind of finished my block out almost. I know I want another shape up here or something. And let's just add a few other shapes. sort of connections and things so I can see what's going on here. So this is a useful tool, select in place. That allows me to drag this around the surface of this object. So let's just think about maybe having something there. Yeah, so I can see that I'm going to have to go to the next subdivision level pretty quickly if I want to start placing any forms. I still have no idea how this guy gets in. I think there needs to be some sort of like hinge up here. Maybe climbs in through the bottom. I could have a big handle thing on there. Could split down the middle. Like all of that could open up and fall forward. I don't know yet. Need to make a decision about that. Probably needs to be, what else we got in? Just when I'm blocking things around. Yeah, I think I will just add that edge in. Hey, correct. I'm crap at. I'm gonna have to sit down. I think I might have to go and revise your names so I can say them properly. I don't know where to do that, like to get my accent correctly. So I hope you'll excuse my disastrous white male understanding of the universe. Right, so something like that, maybe. Clone. Yeah, I think that's a sign that I need to go and have a chat with my wife because that's the toast burning. Alright. Yeah, so I'm just sort of playing with whether I want, how I want that ducting to run. I think possibly horizontally rather than vertically like it is in my image there. Don't know. Right. Okay, so that pretty well blocked out now. Let's just go back and sort of summarize where what I'm thinking with all this. So the idea is that we're trying to get around this iteration loop as quickly as possible, and you can see that like it's very easy to get bogged down if you're not clear about what you're doing. So what we're trying to do is like we work at so we work at one subdivision level, we add in a bunch of detail, we subdivide it, we add in our next finesse of detail, subdivide it even some more, and keep going down the subdivision stack until we reach our goal. Now, every time we add a polygon, like everything slows down. So we want to make decisions about our big shapes first, so that we can just then start so once I've made the decisions about all this stuff, I can worry about things like this. There's still lots of detail around here, like fingers, like some sort of claws. Simple, very simple kind of claw mechanism. I imagine there's a hand in here, and like nothing is really exposed to space. So there's a hand in here with some manipulators, and there's just like some claws out here. So I'm trying to work down in order of size. So like get my big shapes nailed first. At some point, like probably quite soon, I would take maybe this into Photoshop and like do a draw over like with panel lines. So maybe there's a shape here, maybe I want to emphasize that shape there, another panel line here, and do a few passes of like the important elements of the shape that I want to emphasize, to get a different understanding of the features of it. So you need to bounce around different packages almost to kind of generate different kinds of ideas, because Max is really good at some things, other things it'll be really slow at, and you'll shy away from doing those kinds of shapes. And then if you're shying away from doing certain kinds of shapes, then that's really going to slow you down. So taking it to ZBrush, taking it to Photoshop, doing a little render and then drawing over it, like render it, print it out, draw over the top, come back. It's all about having a clear idea, like what you really want to do next. And so once you've mastered the tools, you can just go, right, I'm going to make this shape, off we go. And I think maybe it's kind of clear, like, you know, at some point I said I should stop now, and it's really because I stopped having a clear idea of what I was going to do next, and I really needed to go and do some more research or go and do something else and let my subconscious digest it. So I've got multiple kind of different things on the go, and I try and give each thing a little bit of breathing space. So I've just like an hour and a half on this, and probably I should have stopped after 45 minutes. But anyway, I hope that was useful for you guys. Feel free to leave like comments in the thread below. I did edit my other video to try and reduce the time, but I think I'm just going to leave this as it is, as an hour and a half. And I'm still learning about live streaming, so I'll aim to do better next time and try and keep it a bit tighter. Cool. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to join on my Discord. The Discord link I'll just punt in now. So the Discord link is in the chat. I'm not like super broadcasting this, so it's relatively select. It's mainly so I can manage the, like, see how that works. I don't want the culture to kind of blow up, and I want it to be a nice, respectful, creative, supportive little community, which generally most 3D stuff I've seen online tends to be. So I'm just like letting it grow slowly, and we can all be there to help each other out, especially in these weird times. Alright, see you later, guys.